G'day guys, and welcome to episode 42 of Springwood. Today's episode we're going to continue work on the Santa Clara beach. We began mapping out how this area is going to look in the last episode. Thanks to everyone who sent me through some links for some inspiration. I'm really hoping to incorporate a lot of places around the world into this one beach. I know we're kind of going for a mostly Venice / Santa Monica vibe for this area, but I do also want to incorporate a lot of other beachfront areas because they all have very similar styles, and I think it'd be quite cool because, you know, Springwood is sort of very much an international city. So I feel like it does make sense to incorporate a lot of different places around the world into this one area. In saying that, this episode is purely focused on Venice Beach. This is an area that I've been wanting to focus on for a really long time, and I love the way that this build turned out. I think it's up there with one of my favorites, for sure. I actually plan to only work on a very small portion of this over the weekend, but I ended up pretty much just completing 3 elements that I wanted to do over the next 3 episodes, so I mean that really goes to show how much I got into it. Pretty much, we're going to be building the Venice Pier, and that's going to be the kickoff for this episode. And then we're going to be figuring out what the beachfront looks like. Again, Venice Beach, pretty much. And then the last little area we're going to be working on is Muscle Beach. And I really love some really clever name that we could call this area, rather than calling it Muscle Beach like it is in LA. I think, you know, something like Flex Gym might be cool, or maybe even something named after another place around the world. And then we can add that to the wiki. The people from the wiki can add some sort of cool backstory behind it or something, and maybe even some characters that are renowned for working there. I know that Arnold Schwarzenegger's renowned for working out at Muscle Gym at LA, so I'm sure there's some celebrity in Springwood that lives in Santa Clara and works out at Flex Gym on this beach. If you want to add that character, I think that'd be really cool. You can make your mark on Springwood by adding it to the wiki page. If you do want to add a whole bunch of stuff, go and jump onto the Discord, because there is a chat group that is always talking about things to add to the story of Springwood, and I'd highly suggest you go and check it out. Really, really great supportive group. They're great, so definitely go and check it out. And while we're on the topic of the wiki, congrats to the people who found the last Easter egg in last week's video. The Easter egg was, of course, the link to the Hernan family, who are a family in Springwood who are artists and have some sort of link to the Church of Symbology, so that's why I put the billboard up there. So congrats to those guys who found it, and they've got access to a video that nobody else has access to. And if you would like access to that video, well, you need to find this week's Easter egg. And that Easter egg is all about the Springwood Air train. So see if you can find it somewhere in this video. Somewhere in the cinematics, it could be somewhere in the time-lapse. That's about as much information as I'm going to give you for that. Best of luck. So looking at what I'm doing on screen, and I've just been working on the beach, and this beach turned out really, really great. This is exactly how I want to be creating every beach within City Skylines from now on. And it's pretty much using a couple of different techniques, using the resources to paint down where the wet sand is sitting closer to the water, and then using the decals just to place that around the ocean front. I'm also working on the pier, and I'm referring directly to Venice Pier and pretty much following it exactly because I really wanted to follow the shape and structure of it. So I'm just using this road at the moment. This is a footpath, and unfortunately I couldn't figure out how to get anybody to walk across it. I put it out to you guys last episode if you could help me out to try and get more traffic of people walking around this area, and a lot of real helpful suggestions. I think probably the one that is the most beneficial, I think, is probably for me just to wait until they release the new expansion pack, which is Park Life. And I think there's going to be a massive fix for that. I think we'll probably see a lot of people roaming around this area as soon as that update has been released. So thanks for your suggestions. I do find a little bit of a fix by just placing down a lot of event spawners, so people are kind of coming along here and hanging around. So that does work out pretty well. Though they do sort of stand around. I would really love to see people actually walking. So I'm hoping that the new expansion pack will actually address that issue, and we'll see some people walking around here for pleasure rather than trying to get from one place to the other. And I'm also just putting a little bit more texture to this beachfront. Like I said, love the way this thing turns out, particularly where the water meets the sand. I think that is pretty damn good. I've just been using some of the surf decals just to place down a bit on the sand to sort of look like that's when the waves push up against the sand and then it's being drained back into the ocean. I think it has that bit of a effect, and that's what I was sort of going for. And I'm using a lot of King Leno's beach props just to decorate the beachfront. They fit really nicely. I do need some people just to be hanging out on the beach because it looks bare as. There's nothing going on. It looks very unattractive. So I'm hoping again that's going to be something that can be fixed with the new updates. Fingers crossed. But I think I'll probably leave a couple of projects along this beachfront for when that expansion pack is released, and then I will work on those areas using that expansion pack. I've also used a lot of these sand decals to show that the sand is creeped onto the concrete and the car park. Love that effect. I think it looks so damn cool. This is a technique that I use a lot in Osara and hadn't really used in Springwood before, but I think it fits pretty nicely in an area like this. Also, just thinking back to last episode, a lot of people suggesting the types of buildings I should be using in an area like this, and a lot of people agreeing with the condo style buildings and keeping it quite a high-rise sort of an area. I think people are digging the fact that this is pretty much going to be a bit of a touristy area for Springwood, which is great. This is pretty much exactly what I want. I'm also placing down a whole bunch of these these palms, and I always feel like I place down far too many of these things, but far out, looking at pictures of LA, and there's ridiculous how many of these palms actually exist around this area. Like, it's ridiculous. So every now and again, I place down a whole bunch, and then I'll look around and just think, man, these things are in every single screenshot. I need to stop placing down so many palms. But yeah, every time I go back to looking at pictures of LA, I'm always surprised at how many there are just around this area, which is very cool because yeah, it's just very iconic. It's pretty much exactly what people imagine when they think of LA. I know that's what I imagine when I think of LA. So in terms of developing this beachfront, this area in particular that I'm working on is solely dedicated to what Venice Beach is pretty much going for, just a Venice vibe. And then on the left hand side, we'll eventually work around something that'll be a bit more on the Santa Monica vibe. And then all the space in between will pretty much be dedicated to parkland, and all those links that you guys sent me, I'm going to be checking them out and incorporating parts of other cities within that one little space, whether it's just a park or whether it's a shop front or a pedestrian path, something like that. I'll be working on because there's quite a bit of a distance between along this whole stretch. And then on the furthest left side, so this is pretty much outside, reaching out of the city. And I would like to have something that is pretty much Santa Monica. Now, I'd love to create the Santa Monica Pier. That would be so awesome. Though I am very hesitant to create the amusement park that's on the pier, solely because Palmdale is a suburb that is just right next door to Santa Clara. So we already have an amusement park in Palmdale, and I think it's just a massive overkill to have another amusement park on the water that is a suburb away. So I don't think that's going to work. But I do know there's quite a lot of other like touristy trap buildings that are all like, functions or places that are sort of sit on piers. And that is my question to you guys. What should I place down on that pier? Or whether I should even go for a pier in the first place? What I'm thinking is I just need some sort of iconic elements to the other side of this beachfront, pretty much. So on this side, it's all about the Venice Beach. We have the pier and we have Muscle Beach, but on the other side, we do need something else. So let me know what you think would make a cool iconic feature around that area. Send me a link below to a Google Map image or something like that. So that'd be awesome. And we'll work on that somewhere down the track, probably in the next 3 episodes or so. That would be a very, very cool build. And I don't know, maybe even something like a casino, or even just like a single Ferris wheel and some shops. Something needs to be around there. And there's also going to be a train station that is somewhere close to that area. So, and Santa Monica doesn't have a train station, well, at least as far as I'm aware, it doesn't. And definitely not the style that I'm going to be placing down. So it's going to be really different. It's going to be a pretty different place. So yeah, pretty keen, pretty excited to be heading over into that direction. But I am getting kind of far ahead. I'm talking like 3 episodes away. But what I'm doing is something pretty exciting. Like I said, this is one of my most favorite builds that I've probably done within City Skylines, and I freaking love the way this thing turned out. So this is the Muscle Beach, and I am following the sort of the similar structure to Muscle Beach in LA and Venice Beach, and I wanted the platform area, the outside gymnasium, to have a very similar feeling to it, but I just wanted to change the shape ever so slightly, and also create a different indoor area. What I don't really know what this indoor area is at Muscle Beach. At first I thought it was like a change room or something, but then I sort of thought it might have been like an indoor gymnasium or something like that. But essentially this gym is like a massive icon within Springwood. Yeah, I'm just going to talk about it in Springwood rather than talking about it in LA. But yeah, in Springwood, this gym is like a massive icon, and you know, it's a bit of a tourist hub. People kind of come along here and check out the bodybuilders. There's actually a gym right next door to this gym. So there's an indoor gym, and then there's this outside area, and then we have this platform with a lot of equipment outside. And this particular gym is not the sort of gym where amateurs go to work out. You don't go here to try to lose weight. You don't try to learn some new skills. You're pretty much just here to pretty much show off to all the tourists and just look awesome. So that's what I'm sort of going for. This is a bit of a show pony sort of a gym. And the way that I'm building the equipment of this gym is I've pretty much just scrolled through and found all the props and assets that I can use that I think would probably best fit for these gym equipment, and I'm pretty much just copying them and just splicing them together, because not all the equipment, well, I can't create all of it. So I'm pretty much I've made a bench press, and I've made a couple of other workout stations and a chin-up bar, and a lot of platforms where people can lay down and do some overhead press and things like that. And I've also got quite a lot of racks that hold the barbells and stuff, and I'm creating them by using some construction bars and just like raising them up, so then they create a bit of a platform. You better see them a lot better within the cinematics, and that turned out pretty nice. I think that worked really well, and yeah, totally happy with how that turned out. And also that indoor gymnasium area that I was creating is totally custom. I went for a building instead at first, but it looked a little bit too dirty and it looked a bit too industrious. So instead I got rid of it, and I placed down this like rooftop, and then just put some walls right next to it, just to create the walls of the building. And I think that works pretty nicely. That's actually a technique I've never done before, so I think I'm going to be doing that quite a lot to create a bit more custom style buildings. And right here I'm placing down a platform, so this is like a stage for people to compete in competitions, performing like Olympic weightlifting skills and things like that. I'll also be creating some seating that goes around this platform. And again, this is pretty much directly based off, Muscle Beach. And I really like this layout. I love that this gym is this outdoors, and then you have this platform that you walk from the gym to this stage, and then you perform in this outdoor setting, and you have the Springwood skyline that is right behind you as you're lifting. So I think this is like the best stage for performing some sort of Olympic lift. So that is a pretty cool thing, and I follow this layout because I do love the layout of this actual area. And I'm using these staircases that I only just grabbed off the workshop. I think they're pretty much only just released, and I don't know what I would have done if they weren't released, because they fit perfectly. I don't think I would have been able to create this platform without them, and I don't think I would have been able to actually build this whole area without using these, having this platform. I think this platform really makes this whole area. And just trying to okay, so what I'm doing here, this is so tricky. It took me a lot of attempts to actually figure out how I was going to make this. So above this platform you have this sculpture of these two barbells, and I really wanted something similar. I didn't want to copy it exactly. I don't think I would have been able to copy it exactly, but I wanted something kind of similar. So trying to figure out how I was going to create this, I was first of all using some walls just to place down. However, finding out what I was going to use as the weights on either ends of the barbell was really challenging, and pretty much the only items I could find that would best suit this were these planters. So I just sort of tried to figure out how I was going to place them down, and the thing that I really didn't like about using these planters is they've got these dirt patch on top. So I just sort of you'll see what I do there, but it's pretty sneaky, and also they clip sort of strangely. So I had to clip quite a lot of them together. There's a lot you're not seeing right now. This is certainly a challenge. I am doing some crazy amounts of adjusting and placing down layers on top of layers, and then to hide imperfections I'd place down another planter, and it's just crazy. It's like this crazy balance of getting just the thing totally right. And you can actually still see bloody cars driving around. So you'll notice that these streets are cars are banned. They're not allowed to drive on here. I've made that clear to them using Traffic President. But they're still driving along. I don't know what's going on. It's very annoying, but I don't include any of that in the cinematics. There's a lot I don't include in the cinematics, guys. Trust me, there's a lot behind the scenes that I make sure that it's specially cut so you can't see anything. Because we don't want, cinematics is the most important part, I think, to Springwood. I always try really hard to make sure that there's no imperfections when it comes to that. Pretty much just like the icing on the cake, isn't it? You watch this cool build, and then you get to check out the cinematics, and it all kind of comes together and looks realistic. And speaking of coming together, it's with the stage and with this seating and the gym in the background. It's such a great looking environment, I think. And like I said, been waiting to create something like this for such a long time, and now the assets finally all lined up, and it was turned out very nicely. So very, very, very cool. Just adding in some decals too, just to rough up the surface a bit. This is an outdoor setting, so there's quite a lot of a lot of weathering going on around here. You might have also noticed that I placed down a trailer, and I placed that down because in my mind, there's some sort of event going on. Maybe not at the moment, but there's quite a lot of events that happen around here. So a lot of the performers, a lot of the athletes will stay in the trailer as they're getting ready, and that's why that is there to the side. So it's kind of not really something that's there all the time, but it gets wheeled in when there is some sort of event going on. And created a bit of a cafe scene as well that's just there, and as you can see, some people are starting to trickle in, which is very cool. The event spawners work really nicely to encourage people to actually come here. The only problem is that I don't get too much foot traffic, but like I said, I think that's going to change in the new parks updates, expansion pack, whatever it's called. And if anyone's interested in creating any more assets for the series, please let me know. I think the only thing that's really missing in this area is some sort of advertising around, like that's specific for Muscle Beach or outdoor gym, whatever the hell we end up calling it. And even like some graffiti. A lot of people are saying that the graffiti in this area that I placed down the last episode looked really great. How cool would it be if we had some very specific Springwood graffiti, you know, some murals or like things like that were around this area. There's this really cool, this is something that Strict Toaster got me onto when I had him on my channel the other day, but he was saying that in this area there is a giant mural of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it's like a famous mural that is in this area. How cool would it be if there was a famous mural of some celebrity of Springwood? It'll just be so cool. So if you're interested, please message me. It'd be great to get you on board. And for this last little bit of the episode, there's, you know, so this Muscle Beach is there's like a lot of different elements to it. There's a lot of outdoor sport elements to this area. So you know, we got the gym, we got the outdoor gym, we got this auditorium, we have the indoor gym, but we also got this more gymnastic style workout that sits out on the sand. Again, this is like the one in LA, so pretty much copying that off, but it is also quite different. We're going for a bit of a different style for this one. And you might also notice that there is a bike path right next to the gym, and this bike path is going to be going around this entire waterfront, and pretty much going from one end of Santa Clara to the other. It's going to wrap around this whole beachfront and might even head to Palmdale. Let me know if that's a cool idea. That could be quite a cool idea, creating a big bike path. Again, how cool would it be if the parks update made it so that people took leisurely bike rides around the city? That would be so cool. Fingers crossed, because at the moment no one's going to use that bike path. It goes nowhere. It's more of a pain in the ass to use than it is to get from one end to the other. So you know, fingers crossed, and we'll see if that does anything. But guys, that is pretty much it for the episode. So thanks so much for tuning in. Much appreciated. Super fun one today. They are always fun, but man, this one was awesome fun. And you can also let me know in the comments below if you did enjoy this episode and if you think the build turned out pretty good. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to read what you think. And also, liking this video is very much encouraging and helps a hell of a lot. So please do that if you feel so inclined. But that is pretty much it for this episode. Thanks guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See you later.